Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we will be talking or discussing about modal verbs. So let us now define first modal verbs. Ano nga ba ang modal verbs at saan natin ito maaari o saan natin ito pwedeng gamitin? A. So modal verbs are auxiliary verbs that express different uses in the sentence. So, ano ba yung tinatawag nating auxiliary? So, pag sinabi nating auxiliary sa Tagalog, ito yung katulong o pantulong na word o salita na ginagamit natin sa ating pag-uusap. So, gaya nga ng ating modal verbs. Okay. So, modal verbs change other verbs in a sentence. So, isa siyang uri ng verb o pandiwa, pero hindi kagaya ng mga pandiwa or verb na karaniwan nating ginagamit. So, in fact, they make the sentence adapt to one of the following purposes. So, mayroon siyang mga purposes or pinaggagamitan. First is to show a level of possibility. So, possibility o posibilidad or may chance sa wika ng mga bagets. Diba? So, may chance, possible. Right? Another purpose of modal verb is to indicate ability. So, when we say ability, ito yung mga kakayahan. Another is to show obligation. Ano ba yung obligation? Or it's a requirement to do something. In Filipino, we call it obligasyon or responsibilidad or maaari rin natin sabihin na tungkulin. Okay? And the last is to give permission. So, nagbibigay ito ng permiso or ina-allow tayo na gawin ang isang bagay. There are 10 main modal verbs. Okay, so medyo marami. 10. Okay. So 1 is will, 2 is would, 3 is should, 4 is ought to, 5 is may, 6 is could, 7 is can, 8 is shall, 9 is must, and 10 is might. Alright, so we got 10 modal verbs. Let's try to discuss each of the modal verbs. So these are the most common modal verbs that we use. Ito yung mga lagi nating ginagamit sa ating sentences. Alright, so let's take a look at them one by one. So first is will. So this verb is used when the certainty that something will be done is to be communicated. So say for example, I will pay my student fees. Okay, so you used will. Okay. So when the modal verb will is used, that means that the action is certain to take place. Maaari o malaki ang chance na mangyari o gawin ang sinasabi. Okay? So, may chance. Possible. So, will is under possible. Actually, ang mga modal verbs ay pare-parehas lamang, pero marami silang pwedeng maging purposes sa ating pangungusap. Second of the modal verb is would. Ano naman ang would? The modal verb would indicates a condition. So it is possible that the action will take place, but another condition has to be met. The phrase including the modal verb will be followed by a connective such as if. So mayroong kondisyon. Okay, kapag ginamit natin ang modal verb na would. Okay, example, let's use it in a sentence. I would pay my student fees if I had the money in my account. So we used would plus the verb pay. Okay, would pay. So maaaring magbabayad ako ng fees kapag may pera na sa aking account. Okay, so yun ang ibig sabihin ng paggamit ng modal verb na would. I would. And aside from that, would is the past tense of will. Okay, so remember that will, would, can, could, shall, should. Okay? Yung mga should, would, could are all in the past tense. And will, can, shall are all in the present tense. Next modal is should and ought to. So when the modal verb should or ought to are used, it indicates that there is a requirement to carry out an action. Okay. But it has yet been completed. So there could be many reasons why that obligation has not been enacted. So usually a phrase, a clause, or a sentence will explain why the action has not yet been completed. The connective but often links the clauses. Okay? So should and ought to also implies responsibility or obligation. So kapag ang ginamit mo sa pangungusap mo ay ang should at ought to, ibig sabihin nito ay mayroon kang responsibility or obligation to do it. Okay? So the slight difference between the two modal verbs is that ought to implies slightly less of an obligation than should. Okay, I ought to go to the bank to pay my fees, but I have a bad cold. That is our sentence. The fourth modal is could. Could is a modal verb that indicates the ability. Okay? And that ability is there to complete an action. So, kukumpletuhin niya yung kilos sa pangungusap natin. So, however, the implication is offered that there is a reason for not having done that what is required. Okay. So, for the modal verb could, it often implies, not replies, sumagot. Okay, it often implies ability, kakayahan. Okay? So, say for example, you would use it in a sentence, I could fly. Okay? Or most of the songs have modal verbs in it. So, say for example, if I could, then I would. I go wherever you will go, way up high. O, ayan. So, you see that even the songs have or used modal verbs, kakayahan. If I could, then I would. Okay? So, also, you can say, I could pay my fees. I have chosen not to. Okay, so, maaaring bayaran ko yung aking tuition fee, pero ayoko pa. Okay, so, could is a very powerful modal verb. Right? So, where else can we use could? So, usually for could, it would imply that there is a problem. Okay, but not all the time. Okay? The next modal verb is may. Okay. So, may, for the modal verb may, it would usually imply or it is asking for permission. Okay, may. So, this is a modal verb which has a double purpose. It indicates the permission to do something. So, you are asking for permission that if this thing could be done. Okay. So, it also shows that there is possibility that something may happen. Okay? So when used to give permission, it will often appear in a simple clause, sentence, or phrase. Okay, so for example, you may pay fees or you may pay my fees on my behalf. So kung mag-uutos ka, di ba? O kung pwede mong bayaran, maaari mong bayaran yung tuition fees ko on my behalf. Okay. Or if you want to go to the restroom, you often ask your teacher, "Ma'am, may I go out?" Okay. So that's the use of may. So again, may could imply or could tell, okay, two purposes. So it may use or it may serve two purposes, permission and possibility. So going back to our sentence, okay, you may pay my fees on my behalf. Okay, that is permission. Okay, you have the permission that you can pay the fees. Right. And the verb can also be used to show possibility, or that modal verb may can also be used to show possibility. So when we say, my fees may be paid, okay, maaari ng bayaran. Alright. So, but if you say, "Ma'am, may I go out?" that means that you are asking for permission if you can go out of the room. Okay, that is may. Right. Next modal. Okay, but wait. For may, there is no past form for may. Walang past tense ng may, unlike ng can, ng shall, at ng will. Okay, so may, you just use may for the present tense. Okay? Next is can. So the modal verb can demonstrates the ability to undertake an action. So, my fees are overdue. I can pay them on Monday. Okay, so that is can. It implies ability or kakayahan. Okay, so you can also say, I can fly. So, what are your abilities? So, these are the things that you can do. Maaari mong gawin. I can write, I can talk, I can walk, I can swim, I can dance. Okay, so, I can live, I can love, I can reach the heavens above. Oh, see? I can. Okay, so we have used again can in the sentence and in the song. So the songs, most of the songs are really full of modal verbs. Okay, so can. So can cannot be used as a modal verb in the past tense. So the word states that something will happen. Mangyayari pa lang. Rather than has happened. Okay, hindi natin sinabi na tapos na o naganap na ang kilos. The next modal is shall. Okay, it's shall. So this verb shows that something will happen. Maaari or mangyayari pa lamang. So however, a condition is often implied, and often the connective when is used to connect clauses if shall is the form of the verb used. Example, I shall pay my fees as soon as my funds clear. Shall. Okay, something will happen. Mangyayari. The next modal verb is must. So for must, okay, the modal verb must says that something will definitely be done. Definite. Okay, ibig sabihin, totoong mangyayari. You are definite. You are sure of it. Okay, so it is a stronger word than will, implying that the action to take place is extremely important. So, pag ginamit mo ang must, para na yung sinasabi na it's an obligation or it's a responsibility. Okay? So, I must pay my fees or I will not be allowed to attend lectures. So, talagang kailangang gawin kapag ang ginamit mo sa pangungusap ay ang modal verb na must. Okay? Next is might. Okay, might. So, might is a modal verb that implies the possibility of something. So, the purpose is for possibility. So, when might is used, the outcome is in the balance. So, the implication is that something could happen, or perhaps it will not. For example, I might pay my fees. So, there is no certainty. Hindi ka nakakatiyak o hindi ka nakakasigurado na mababayaran. Kasi you use the modal verb might. Okay, kasi posibilidad pa lang or ika nga, may chance pa lang pero hindi ka pa gaano sigurado. Okay? So often there is a hidden implication that there is a reason why the action will not take place. Sometimes the reason will be made explicit. So for example, I might pay my fees. It depends on whether my classes get better. So there is a corresponding condition with the use of might. And that's it. Sana may natutunan kayo today for our topic on modal verbs. So, until my next video. Okay, so salamat sa panonood. Keep watching my videos, please. Thank you. Have a great day and keep safe. God bless everyone.